Look, e-commerce seller, the e-commerce landscape is getting more and more tough. I'm saying that as an e-commerce seller myself, as an Amazon seller. And in today's video, we're gonna share some useful tools, ideas, and practices for you to stay competitive this year and moving forward with some new emerging, like I could say, technologies and ideas that can help you survive. And hopefully this video will be useful for you. Today I'm with Shawn. He's the founder of CGX Consumer Goods Exchange, which is like, I would call it a stock market for physical products. We're going to speak about what it is in a minute or two, hopefully in a minute. In the description, we have the previous video with Shawn that explains and goes deep into what is CGX. It's about an hour video where we go and dive deep into how it is used for kind of e-commerce sellers, how it is used for investors. It's in the description. There's a video. Also, there's going to be some good offer in the description plugged for CGX in case you'd like to try and use Shawn's platform. But I'll pass the mic to Shawn now because he knows his product very well. And I'm happy to have you, Shawn, for I would say, the second time with us. And good day to you, man.
Thank you, Vova. It was a pleasure to have that conversation with you the first time.
Yeah.
And again, of course, we're really focused and dedicated on how this platform, the Consumer Goods Exchange, can help sellers really focus on the new goal I feel that should be focused on, which is cash flow over profit, in order to stay competitive in the current landscape of e-commerce, as well as how our platform allows sellers to increase their exposure into product lines that they don't currently have access to.
Right, right. So, well, good to have you with us again, man. And let's dive right in, man. What do you mean
Yeah,
cash flow?
so
We as profits, like what's that? Like,
very simply, the current, you know, the current landscape of e-commerce, I had mentioned it on the first video, is quite different than what it was 10 years ago. Now, 10 years ago, you could look at e-commerce um, the way retail was in the 80s, not much competition. You were waiting for somebody to just walk by, and because there wasn't much competition, they were going to buy from you, right? And that's how it was 10 years ago with e-com. Today, you could sell an item, and on average, you could have 20 sellers that are selling against you on the same marketplace. That competitive landscape has squeezed the profit margins, but has also made it very easy for the average person to get access to that inventory, which is not good for seasoned e-commerce businesses or businesses that are trying to scale, because now you just have to fight against all these other people. You're fighting for buy box percentage, etc. Consumer Goods Exchange is the world's first stock market for consumer goods. It allows sellers to create instant liquidity, instant cash upfront in milliseconds from investors around the globe that will buy shares into your future sales for existing products that you currently hold in the shelf. What that means is you don't have to take loans. You don't have to pay interest. You don't have to have guaranteed monthly payments anymore. You're going to companies like OnRamp, 8Fig, Cabbage, etc. There are tons of great lending companies out there. And don't get me wrong, these lending companies do a great job at providing you cash on your receivables, your past receivables, but they don't do a great job in protecting you from the future, right? Because at the end of the day, if I have to make a guaranteed monthly payment at an interest rate that they give me, I have no choice but to make that payment every month, whether I had sales or I did not. And that is a bottleneck that everyone can tell you that they have met in the future. In the beginning, that Band-Aid, great, just got 30 grand, just got 50 grand, just got 100 grand at an X percentage interest rate. And I'll just make those payments because I know I have sales. Until the sales start slowing down, until the competition starts increasing, and now you don't have the money to make those monthly payments, and you're taking more loans, and you're strapped, and now you're sitting on tons of debt. I see it all day. Been in this industry for quite a bit now, and I see everyone drowning in debt from multiple lenders. And that's why there are so many lenders, because there's enough sellers out there that need money. What consumer goods exchange is ultimately the stock market. Sellers get onto the platform. They have existing inventory. They integrate their marketplace. At the moment, we're integrating Amazon FBA sellers for the first version. Once they integrate their marketplaces, all their inventory is in the platform, and they can create offers. You got 1,000 pieces of Tide detergent sitting in Amazon warehouses throughout the US. You're selling 100 a day. You can go ahead and create offers, and you can put those offers up and say anybody who wants 100 or more, X price or better, 200 or more, X price or better, 500 or more, X price or better. What are you doing here? You're not selling the actual product to these investors on the other end. You're selling shares in that product. Now, someone on the other end, a trader like myself, like yourself, Vova, comes onto the platform. They see the Tide detergent. They see it selling 100 a day. They see it selling for $20 on Amazon, $5 fees FBA, $15 net every sale. They said, you know what? I'll take 100 pieces at $14. They get executed if it hits the rules that the seller sets. Remember, seller's in full control here, and it's anonymous, so they don't know who the seller is. But if the seller set their rules at 100 or more, $14, and someone hit that at the bid, they get executed. That $1,400 goes immediately to the seller. Once that goes immediately to the seller has the ability to take that $1,400, use it to scale their business, buy more product, do what they need to do. The investor now, the trader on the other end, just like if they bought shares on Robinhood or any other stock brokerage account, they now own shares in the next 100 sales. Now, every time one sells, every time one of those Tide detergents sell, the investor will take that $15. They bought it for 14 on the option strike price. They make that dollar spread every time one sells until they sell all 100. And here's the key. They get the cash when Amazon or the marketplace actually settles the cash with the seller, which we know doesn't happen until about every 2 weeks on average for a seller account. Now the seller has the money immediately. They don't have to wait for 100 sales. They don't have to wait weeks at a time for Amazon to pay them out. They get the money up front. They continue to do their business. No monthly payments, no interest rates, nothing. They go do business. They continue scaling their business, buy more products, get into more product lines, get into more SKUs, increase their business. The trader on the other end, he waits. He's not doing anything. He or she's not doing anything. They saw the stats. They made a bid. They got executed. They sit and wait for some passive income. Very simple. Now, why is that so important for sellers these days? Competitiveness today, like I said, you got 20 sellers on a single product. How are you supposed to make money? Well, two ways, and we see it all day. How many more products can I find? So I use platforms like Jungle Scout, Smart Scout, Helium. I use all these tools to try to figure out what's the next trending product, what's selling, where can I find it, who supplies it, how much do I have to put up to be able to get it at a certain price, to be able to sell it for a profit. That's all these sellers are doing all day. Second thing they're doing is how many more marketplaces can I sell in? How many more countries can I sell in, right? Those are the two things that they're all focused on. Great, continue focusing on that. But one thing that you don't realize is profit is not going to keep you in the business anymore in 2026 and beyond. Why? Well, profit margins are thin. You got 20 sellers. What you need to do is you need more cash. You need more cash in order to leverage more inventory. Buy more inventory at a cheaper price. Bring in more SKUs and add them to your product line. You're selling cosmetics. Maybe it's time to start selling household goods. Maybe it's time to get into toys and electronics. But how are you going to do that without the cash? What are you going to take heavy debt and start making monthly payments with no sales? Not going to work. Okay. You'll get drowned. You'll be dead in 2 years. Okay. And we've seen how many sellers go bankrupt over the last few years, basically because they raised too much money. They took too much debt. Sales didn't happen fast enough, too much money on advertising, and it just didn't amount to enough cash flow right away. We want to focus on cash flow versus profit. What do I mean by that? Well, get onto the exchange. You know you have all this inventory already sitting in warehouses. You know how much of it's selling. You know how long it takes to sell it out. You know how much of your replenishment rates, what your replenishment rates are. You know how much you can supply those goods for, right? Well, now get onto the platform, sell the future sales. No monthly payments, no interest rates. Okay, no debt. Every time one sells, they will get paid back from your sale. You take the cash up front, which means Now, all that cash, that multiples of cash flow every month that you were waiting for comes in milliseconds from traders around the globe. You take that money, you scale, you scale, you scale. Now, what did you do? You gave up a slight discount. Sure, you're making a little bit less profit. But I'll tell you one thing, cash flow is king. Okay. And if you haven't seen that, I can guarantee you don't know business. Okay. Because if you know business, you know I need cash to continue to survive. I don't care if the cash comes on the 1st, the 15th, and the 30th. I need to make sure that when it comes, it's coming in bulk because I can't do anything with a little bit of money. Okay. And I'm willing to give up a small portion of discount to get 4 times that cash immediately without the monthly payment guarantees. That's how I look at my exchange, CGX. We created this not only for sellers, but we want investors to be able to create passive income. I'll give you an example. I have my wife. My wife is a biochemist engineer. She manufactures cancer medication for one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. She knows nothing about finance, about trading, about equities, stocks, derivatives, commodities. Not like me. I come from a commodities trading background. I'm in real estate. I understand this game, right? But she knows product. She uses cosmetics. She goes to Sephora. She knows product. She knows what the girls are buying. She knows what's trending. Well, she goes onto the platform. She looks at some of these goods that we had on, at offers of. She figured out, well, I know this is going to continue selling, or it's the season for XYZ. I know this is going to sell. I know this is not going to sell. I know this is a good price that I can make a little bit of money on and it'll continue selling. She doesn't need to know K1 statements. She doesn't need to be on call on quarterly earnings reports. She doesn't need to know financial documents, none of that, right? She needs to know product. She needs to know trend. She needs to see the stats that are very simple. Is it selling? How much is selling? What is it selling for? Where is it selling? Who's buying it? What are the high-low prices? These are easy, basic fundamentals that everyone knows about supply and demand. So what that means is now you have a pool of people out there, whether it be a scientist, an advanced trader, a lender, a hedge fund, or somebody sitting in the middle of Spain who has 2 kids, stay-at-home mom, and she needs to create a little passive income. And the husband said, you know what, go ahead, go invest $5,000 on the exchange and make yourself a few $100 a day or a month or whatever it may be. The pool is now expanded. Now you as the seller, what does that do? Now you sit there, you know you've got millions of inventory tied up, warehouses from Jersey to Pennsylvania to the West Coast. You know how much they're selling. You've been selling them for a long time. You have solid stats. You're a great seller. Easy. Take my inventory sales for the future right now. I have the product. It's already there. Take the sales. Give me the cash. I need that cash. I'm going to go buy more inventory. I'm going to go ahead and scale my business into more categories, more marketplaces, more countries. Trader, go ahead, make a few points every month, every year, whatever it may be, to make a little passive income for yourself. That is how you're going to survive in 2026 and beyond when you're looking at cash flow versus profit. That's the biggest kickback I've gotten. Why would I give up 2 points, 2%, when I know it's going to sell? If you're thinking that way, you've already failed. And I'm sorry to say that. There's a lot of smart sellers out there. They're educated. They're great at what they do. But times have changed. And if you're not going to adapt to the time, you're going to fall behind. You don't adapt to AI. If you don't adapt to all these tools, come on, every day I'm watching new tools pop up. I mentioned just a few, Smart Scout, Jungle Scout. I love these platforms. Without these platforms, they can't do any business. You're going to continue doing that. I want the founder, the CEO, the owner of that business to come in every morning to their office, let the business run the way it's been running. And all you do is focus on how you can extract more cash out of this exchange and increase your product lines and increase your business. That's literally how you should look at this business.
So, Shawn, let me see if I understood you correctly. Let's say a seller, an e-commerce seller, in this case, an
Right.
Amazon seller, we said that was a product that was selling for 20 and $5 are Amazon fees and kind of gives $15 in kind of net before the cost of goods and all that, but fine. A seller can come to the exchange, to CGX, Consumer Goods Exchange. Again, for those who want to dive deep and see how it looks from inside, we did a video with Shawn previously. It's in the description. Really nice video. Gotten good traction so far, good feedback. Check it out in the description, please. And also, there's the offer that we can offer for those entering CGX. It's in the description. Check out the link. It's really nice offer that Shawn gave us. But again, say a seller wants to try it out. So a seller has the option, if they know their numbers, and they should, of how much they're making per sale. They can come and say like, okay, so instead of making, let's say $15 a unit, I don't mind making 14, right? So I give the ability now to someone who's an investor on CGX to buy future sales, let's say 100 future sales of this product for $14 per unit, even though I could make 15 selling it myself. But here I have this ability to sell it for 14, say, or 13, or whatever the seller decides, and get the cash if in case the trade happens uh, within the same minute, within the same
Second.
day, or
Milliseconds. How long does it take you to buy a share of Amazon on Robinhood?
straight away. I
Two
mean, like,
clicks.
yeah, a few clicks.
Clicks.
So same.
Same thing. And now, again, let's be honest here, right?
Yeah, 100%.
We are just starting. So when sellers that come onto the platform today, the reason I made the offer to you, I'm not charging these sellers, right? I want them to come onto the platform, I want them to use the platform because I need to build the platform up. Are there enough investors on the other end today to be able to give you liquidity immediately? That we're working on, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and you'll see more and more and more investors that come in, and you'll see faster and faster trades occur.
Mm-hmm.
You come on today, it may be a little slow, but I can guarantee you, if it's not 10 grand, you'll at least get some immediate cash trades as soon as you get onto the platform, because we have a good set of private investors that are already acting as traders on the platform. Okay. Over time, this will create, they'll get more busy and you'll see volatility and volume much more increased. So today it's still a little slow, but every day we're getting better and better. We're trying to add more and more sellers. We need more offers on the platform. At the moment, we need more offers. We need more sellers to put inventory on the platform because we have more money on the back end to invest in it than we do actual offers. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're focused here. And we've been focused on this year on obtaining these sellers as we get into this launch that we've just kind of slowly soft launched over the last couple of weeks. Okay. Now, that is just one avenue on why I would say sellers should really focus on cash flow versus profit. It takes a couple of seconds. You sign up, you go into you'll be on the settings screen after you sign up in like 5 seconds. You'll verify your identity. Right now, it's US based customers only on FBA due to legalities, obviously. That's version 1. And so it would take them just a couple of minutes to do their KYC, AML, basically verify their identity. Okay. Once they do that, they then integrate their seller account, which at the moment is Amazon. 2 clicks. Once they do that, all their inventory is in their platform, in their dashboard, and they can start creating offers immediately in seconds. Does everyone see everything you have? No. Fully anonymous. Nobody knows who the seller is. Just like you don't know who filled you for those 20 shares you bought on Robinhood from Amazon. You don't know if it came from Goldman Sachs or if it came from Vova. Okay. You have no idea who filled that order. Second thing is, no one's going to see all your inventory. You put out there what you want to put out there. Okay. If you don't want to put it out there, no one's going to see what you have. Right. So fully anonymous, controlled, but it's a beast in terms of bringing you cash up front. Don't wait anymore. If you're waiting for cash, if you're waiting for one-by-one sale, in my opinion, By the time you get that 100 sale, you got 4 other sellers against you on that product because of Smart Scout and Jungle Scout and all these tools out there that are basically making it easy to people to figure
Yeah.
out what sells and where to get it from. They're doing a great job with that. I mean, these are amazing platforms, and I keep bragging about these platforms because, quite frankly, I mean, those are the platforms that I feel allow business to succeed today. Without them, you can't be in e-commerce.
Mm-hmm. Right. So again, as I mentioned before, the seller comes, they say, okay, I want to get more cash right now because I have ideas for new products, or maybe I want to just have the money to put in ads of this product more and grow, the sales actually this way even faster. But then from the investor side, they see the offer then on the exchange of those 100 units at $14 each, right? And then they see that the potential profit they can make per sale is $1. And of course, each, we're going to have more videos from the investor side in the future, but let's say they understand that this is a nice kind of amount that they are happy to be getting as an investor. And sounds to me also the investor takes a bit more risk because the sales of the seller can slow down a little bit, for example, but the seller had already gotten the money, and
So the
that's
investor
nice.
is the investor is looking to make money, passive income, but obviously there's risk.
Yeah,
Share
yeah,
price comes down. In this particular case, we do have some rules in place to
yeah,
protect the investor so that sellers don't come in and start dumping the price and dumping their PPC spend. We do have some rules in place
yeah,
to keep them from doing it too much or being too volatile in terms of pricing and obviously bad actors. We don't want securities fraud here. Remember, you are signing contracts on the back end, just like you are when you purchase a share from a company. You have a legal right
yeah,
to continue doing business the way you were. I mean, not doing fraudulent business, fraudulent activity.
100%.
And so the investor is taking on some of that risk, hoping to make a passive income. Okay. And quite frankly, for sellers, it really just comes down to not whether you need the cash, but whether you know what to do with that influx of cash now, right? Like, I no longer have to wait months to get X amount of dollars. I can do that in seconds,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you have a sale today. Amazon didn't pay you today.
No,
No, they took the fees today.
true.
So that's how that I feel, would benefit sellers. Again, we can go on for days on this,
Yeah.
but it's very simple, very quick and easy to sign up, very quick to create offers. And just so you clarify one thing, investors will bid on the other end. It's not like a buy it now, like take it for 14. You set your rules as a seller, people will bid. If the bid hits any of those
Yeah.
rules, they get executed. So it's not like buy it now, take it at this price. Now, we gave an example of $1 spread.
Yeah.
That's a bit, that's a lot. We just made a number up that is easy to understand in this
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
But, you don't really have to give up that much of a discount to be able to get the investors on the other end, because just remember, an investor, a trader who's investing in the S&P is only making 6% a year on average. That would be a 0.5% discount a month for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean that for $100 item, 50 cents
50
you gave
cents.
up.
Yes.
Sorry, mine went blank there for a second.
It's all right.
Get what my point is? Percentages
I see.
more dollar amounts here. Investors are looking for percentage returns. And remember, investors don't have access to what you have access to. Investors don't know how to create a store on Amazon, how to do PPC campaigns, how to buy 1,000 pieces of Tide detergent and put them in a store and put them in a warehouse of FBA. Like, this is a hard business to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't have to get into the business. Forget about drop shipping. That's garbage. Whoever came up with drop shipping, they thought they came up with something. Maybe they did at the time, but that just hurt every seller that was actually doing proper business. Now you got China drop shipping stuff against you in the US. They don't even own the goods. They never even seen the goods. Killing businesses here in the US. And I know Congress is talking about that. I'm obviously, I'm in New York City. I'm an American. I follow the politics, and our current, president in office is very much focused, from what I understand, on helping U.S. businesses be more competitive against all of the issues that we're facing with overseas drop shippers and, fake good sellers and so on and so forth. And it's hard to compete against them. And so that's why you see the tariffs and things of that nature. But ultimately, this particular product should help you capitalize more on your business by focusing on how to get influxes of cash. Okay. Now, the second topic, now, I guess you need to understand that. But before we get into the second topic, I'll just give you a quick, I've kind of touched on this, but hedging. And I was telling you a little bit earlier, we had an informal conversation right over about, what does it mean to hedge? Why was the commodities exchange, the futures exchange, selling corn, wheat, gold, oil? Everybody sees them on CNBC, tickers, oil price, gold price, wheat, corn, sugar, grains, whatever. What is that? Right? I was trying to explain it to you, and I'm going to kind of give a little bit of background here.
Please.
50, 60 years ago, whatever it was, farmers, they raise cattle. They sell beef from the cattle that they raise. The cattle that they're raising at the farm in the Midwest, let's say, or in Canada or wherever around the world, they're feeding their cattle wheat, corn, right? Grains, whatever it may be. They feed the cattle that, they raise the cattle, they end up selling the beef at $4 a pound to stay competitive against their competition. All of a sudden, storm hits in the Midwest and the wheat production has dropped, price of wheat doubles. Well, if the price of wheat doubles, then the price of the feed that I feed my cattle doubled, which means I can't charge you $4 a pound anymore on my beef. I can't afford that. I have to charge you more. And therefore, I'm not competitive anymore. Okay. Who's going to buy $8 a pound beef when it's supposed to be $4? Okay. What we ended up creating in this world was the commodities market, the futures market. Now, those farmers can buy contracts at a down payment. Let's say the contract is one contract of wheat is 5,000 bushels of wheat. That is one contract on the futures exchange. They can buy one contract, which is 5,000 bushels of wheat for January of 2027, so 2027, 1 year out. And they buy it at X price. They put a down payment on it because the futures market is leveraged. They say they put 10% down on that contract. It's like buying shares in the stock market. Now, weather goes bad, wheat prices go up. I'm going to have to increase the price of my beef, right? Because I have to pay more for my cows to eat. No. I bought contracts of that wheat on the futures market up until January of 2027. So now when the wheat price went up, I made profits on the exchange, on the commodities exchange. His price went up. I take those profits and that offsets my risk on the feed of the cattle. So I can keep selling my cattle now at $4 a pound because the cost that I had to pay extra to feed my cows, I offsetted that by the profits I made on the exchange. I hedged my risk and now I'm balanced. JetBlue does that. United Airlines does that by buying contracts in oil. Coca-Cola does that by buying contracts of futures of sugar. Why? They're the largest users of sugar. So when the weather hits in Brazil or tariffs hit and they got to pay more for sugar, they're not going to raise their bottle of Coca-Cola from 99 cents all of a sudden to $2. Can't do that. That's volatile. No one's going to buy Coca-Cola. The business is going to go bankrupt. Instead, they buy all these futures contracts. When the price of sugar goes up, make money there, use that money for the sugar that they were going to use to make the Coca-Cola.
So when the price goes up, they start selling these contracts that they bought, sort of? That's what you mean?
Close out the contract, yeah. Price goes up, they'll resell the contract, they'll close out the trade and take the profit. Just like if you bought a share for $100 in Amazon, tomorrow share went to 150, sell the share, make $50. Sell the contract of bushels of wheat, of corn, of sugar, make $50. Use that $50 profit, feed your cows. Now you didn't pay extra to feed the cows.
Okay,
That's called
interesting.
hedging. That
Hmm.
is the world's commodities exchange. It's the largest exchange in the world, open 24 hours a day, helping farmers, helping businesses like JetBlue, United Airlines, Coca-Cola, name it. Any large organization out there in the world is hedging their risk. They can't afford to have that level of risk. Why I bring that up? Imagine a seller. Give you an example. Actually, I did a demo. The seller was a licensed Disney character toy seller. I would say toys. It was like dolls or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Disney.
Disney stuff. Disney. Hmm.
I had him on a demo, and I had him on a demo with another seller. I actually hadn't done this before, where I had multiple seller demos on one. But a very reputable thought leader in the e-commerce industry that everyone knows connected me with some sellers, and I had a group webinar with these sellers. I wanted to see what they were going to talk about after the call, after I gave them a demo. What ended up happening is they weren't even talking to me anymore at the end. They were talking to each other. I'm going to call them Bob and Steve. That's not their real names. Bob, he was a Disney character authorized seller of toys. Steve was specifically selling like Marvel comics, or I don't know if I'm not into this stuff, but I think it was Marvel, or don't get me wrong, it could be DC, or he was selling like those kind of characters, comic character stuff. Well, Bob goes to Steve. He goes, Bob, I'm only authorized to sell Mickey Mouse, and I would love to extract money from my current inventory on the exchange and then invest in Steve, who's selling Marvel comics, which I never had access to. And for me to get approval to become authorized seller on that, it's obviously, it takes a lot. You can't just get full approval to sell a brand.
Hmm.
I started talking to them and I said, wait. Then I started talking to a couple of other sellers. I didn't understand it. I didn't see that avenue of them using the system like that. Then I said, okay, I need to start talking to some more sellers and see what they think. Come to find out, I had another seller who was selling digital cameras, and he was a Canon authorized reseller, not Sony, Canon. And he goes, Shawn, he goes, there are sellers out there that are selling these new Sony mirrorless something cameras, or he goes, I don't have access to them. I sell Canon DSLRs. He goes, do you have Sony sellers on your platform? I said, not yet, but why do you ask? He goes, well, I can't buy those goods and I can't resell those goods. I wouldn't be ungated on these marketplaces. I need authorization from the brand, et cetera, et cetera. And for me to do that, I'd have to allocate a certain number of capital and I have to get authorization and approval to become an authorized dealer. He's like, that's too much work. I'm focused on my brand. He goes, but I would love to get on the platform and buy futures on that Sony stuff because it's selling hot and I don't have access to it. But if you could get me cash on my current inventory, I would take that inventory on and invest in some of the sellers that are selling my competitor products. And that's called hedging your risk. Okay. I didn't quite see it before, but that's why I wanted to talk about that topic here today. If you're a seller and you're selling Dove lotion because you're in the cosmetics game, but you don't have access to luxury level cosmetics like La Mer skin cream for $300 for a small bottle that my wife uses. But luxury right now, because cosmetics are taking off.
Mm.
Okay, these luxury brands are taking off when it comes to cosmetics. But you don't have access to that. You're not going to go spend $1 million in R&D and create a brand and a product, right? You're not going to do it. It's hard. Well, guess what? You now have full access on eventually, right? Because we have to keep building the seller base and build more products on the platform. But eventually, you will now have access to invest in your competition silently. They don't know it's you.
Hmm.
You're just going to invest and offset that risk now. You now have exposure to lines, to categories, to products that you never would have even thought about touching because you couldn't expand the business. You would have never taken the risk to take $1 million from OnRamp or from Cabbage and go invest it in some products that you never sold before. First, you have to get ungated. Then you got to get approval. Then you got to find the supplier. Then you got to tie up all that cash and hope you get it back. None of that. This is the only way for you to increase your exposure, continue focusing on your business, expand your marketplaces, expand your product lines without any hurdles, without any debt. Go to sleep at night. You know that you're only paying back when you're paid for it.
So if I understood you correctly, man, it means like a seller that's, for example, that is on the exchange and they're like, okay, so let's say they're working as a seller on the exchange, so they're putting their products for investors to invest in. They get the cash, then they either invest in more inventory or in ads, but they quickly get the money. Or if I understood you correctly, they can take some of that money, or they can even input money into the exchange separately. And because they know how, in their own category of say selling cameras, they know that the other camera is selling well. What was that? They were Canon, Sony. They cannot
Canon,
sell it,
Sony,
but they
whatever.
know that Sony is coming up with. I think recently there were like probably they're all the time releasing some models. I'm using a Sony now, but a new model is upcoming, or there's just a model selling well, and they know the market, and they just go and find on the platform someone who is in that same market, but they don't have access to these products. They go and invest because they know the market. Also, I think in the last call we had, again, the link is in the description. It's an hour video where we show CGX, how it looks from the inside. I really recommend you, the viewer, to check it out. But there we also spoke about like the since sellers know the numbers and they understand the marketplace, they can actually be decent investors as well, in a sense, because
They would actually
yeah,
be the best investors. Who knows e-commerce better than they do? They're already in the business.
right,
Sure, my wife knows product,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but she doesn't know the
Mm.
actual business of e-commerce like the sellers do.
Mhm.
Knowing product is enough to make some passive income from home, but knowing the Amazon business, knowing the e-commerce business, you could take this whole platform to a whole nother level that no one else can do because you're the expert. You're the expert in this particular industry. I
Right.
don't see anybody that could beat you at that point.
Mhm. I understand. So again, in the description, we're going to have that video where we go deep into CGX, how it looks. I would recommend people watching that webinar. In the description, also, there's the link to get the offer, like to have some like trades without fees for some time, right? We have that pretty
Yep.
cool ability
Yep.
for our viewers as well. But also, I
Yeah, I'm
wanted
not going
to.
to charge your sellers anything at the moment.
Mhm.
Like I said, they have direct access to me and my team. They get onto the platform. I'm available for them, walk them through, help them understand how to strategize and use this platform most efficiently for themselves. For the first 100 sellers, I'm hands on. My team is hands on. We want to see you succeed.
Mhm.
All right. If sellers succeed, everybody succeeds.
Yeah.
I'm a trader on the platform.
Mhm.
I need to make money. I
Yeah.
need to make money capital. Look, I think I mentioned this in the last, right? My core business is CGX. But what I've been doing to keep afloat, to feed my family, I've been in real estate for the last 10 years. Really longer than that, but really over the last 10 years focused on what everybody talks about these days. Rental properties. Let's go rent unit. I have a lot of units. I rent out. If you told me that my tenant wanted a $50 discount, but they were going to pay me 6 months of rent today, where do I sign up?
Uh-huh. I see. I see.
Okay. I'll take 6 months of rent right now for a $50 discount a month.
And if you have a few more minutes, man, I kind of wanted to ask you, kind of, what can go wrong, man, with from sellers and investors side. Wrong, I mean like what are the potential things we should like we wanna make it good for us as sellers, and investors want to make some money as investors. So how can we what can go wrong? How can we avoid it? How should we think?
You know, as an exchange, there are about 41 alternative trading systems out there, ATSs out there in the world. You know some of them: New York Stock Exchange, ICE, New York Mercantile Exchange. You know, these are exchanges you've heard of, NASDAQ, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
With this particular exchange, we can mitigate business risk, meaning we have rules in place to make sure that the sellers don't do illegal stuff or foul play, like I said earlier, like get on a platform and put garbage inventory up or dump the price after they get the money, things of that nature. We have rules to protect it in place. We're at the moment, all new sellers can only sell out 90 days of futures, okay, at the moment. Second, they can't drop the price more than 1% of the 2-week high low at the time of the execution of trade. They can't drop their PPC spend, their ad spend, more than 1% of the 2-week high low at the time of the trade. These are just small rules we put in place just to protect certain things. Mm-hmm. Any offer that they create, the product has to have at least 90 days worth of sales history and no more than a 2% return rate.
Okay.
For now, we're protecting our investors by putting these rules in place. But I can't, as an exchange, I'm not here to fix market risk. What that means is I invest in 100 pieces of Tide detergent. Tomorrow, I was supposed to get for $15, but tomorrow it's sold for $14.96. It falls within that range. That's my risk. I'm making less. Or when I invested, it was selling 100 a day. But for the next 2 weeks, all of a sudden, I'm only selling 70 a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's my risk. I bought 100 shares of Amazon. I bought them at $300. Tomorrow it went to $275. That was my risk on the exchange, on the stock market when I bought it on Robinhood. There's always risk.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here and saying there's no risk. This exchange works because of risk. There's no reward without the risk. That's why you have companies like Cabbage and OnRamp and all these lending companies. I love them, but let's be real here. Who is on the back of that platform? It's banks. It's institutions that are investing, giving you money on your receivables, which you've already sold. Well, why would I take debt, make monthly payments to you at 10% interest rate for shit that I've already sold? Excuse my language, but I've already sold it. Why am I giving it to you? Wouldn't mind giving you my future sales, though. I haven't already sold. But I'm not going to give you something that I'm already expecting Amazon to pay me in like 4 days. Why would I do that? Unless I'm dying for capital, which there are many cases where, lending helps.
Yeah.
But we introduced risk. And we said, hey, trader, you like crypto? You like stocks? You like commodities? How about consumer goods? There's risk, and that means there's reward. Because Vova, Shawn, my wife, we're not getting on a platform to make a 4% interest rate. There's no fun in that. No fun in that. When you introduce risk, you get people interested. You get investors interested. Oh, I could make 10% in a month. Oh, I could make 2% in a month. Oh, I could diversify my portfolio. I always wanted to get into e-commerce, but I don't know how to create a business. I have a job, 9 to 5. Execute a couple of trades, sit, wait, let the passive income come. Can I lose money? Yeah, I can lose money. I can lose money in everything. I can lose money in real estate, lose money in stocks, lose money in any business. But I could pay it this much. The products exist. The products have been selling. You have the stats in front of you. In my opinion, risk is relatively low in comparison to crypto or some of the other asset classes out there.
Yeah, I understand, because we can see like also the well, as sellers, of course, maybe as you said, maybe say your wife, maybe she's not gonna go to Amazon to use like Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or Smart Scout to check the previous sales, etc. Although she might, but a seller can go and see the history of the product, see the reviews, the recent reviews, and do all the stuff that we sellers do to understand like, okay, this seems like a good bet to me. I might lose money, of course. This is the idea of an exchange. It comes with risk, and fair enough. But since I understand this ASIN means like this product, let's say, I see that there isn't a there is a chance that since for 3 years it's been, I don't know, on average selling 50, 30 units a day, and it might drop off to zero, who knows, or it might go up, nice, but most likely just might go in the same pace. Hence, I'm taking the risk to invest into its 100 future sales. The seller will get the money immediately, and I will wait until the seller gets paid. So then they understand the exchange will, I assume, take the money from. Can you explain that part as well, please, Sean?
Exchange
Like,
does everything. You don't have to do anything. Once you get
oh, that's nice.
executed on a trade,
Yeah,
okay, the trade executes, the money goes from your wallet to the seller's wallet.
right.
You now own the securities, the rights against those future sales.
Yes.
Every time one sells, you will see it in real time. 1 out of 100 sold, 2 out of 100 sold, 10 out of
Nice.
100 sold. You will see that in your unrealized gains. It's a gain, but you haven't realized it yet because Amazon hasn't paid the cash yet to the seller. Every 2 weeks, the system settles when the seller gets paid. As soon as the seller gets paid in milliseconds, that same time, the system pulls that money on those specific sales and gives it back to you, the investor. Everything automated. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to sit in front of the screen all day. You buy the rights, you buy the stock, the shares, you let it fly. Come back every day, check your dashboard, see what you made that day.
Nice. I just had a thought, man. I don't know. Maybe you're already implementing that, but like I thought something that can make people kind of be happy to come back more and more to use your platform, basically to gamify it a little bit. So, for example, after having 1,000 units that you have kind of funded, you get a little crown. Then you do 10,000, you get two crowns. Just like an idea. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's
So we are going
and
to
the
have rank.
crown gives you a little something.
We will have rankings, the
Yeah.
way seller rankings to know
Uh-huh.
what a strong seller versus a new or weaker seller or whatnot. We do have a formula in place that ranks the sellers.
Hmm.
Uh, Gamifying it is illegal.
Oh,
Uh,
I didn't know
this is
that.
not a game. You're trading here. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there are some laws and regulations in place. Okay. For instance,
All
at the
right.
current version, the investors have to be accredited investors or foreign nationals. So if they're
Mm.
American, they have to be accredited. It's self-accredited. Few questions that you're going to get asked as an investor when you sign up that prove that you're accredited. You have to answer them yourself. The accreditation rules are certain net worth, certain yearly income, etc. Right? That's accredited in America. Self-accredited though. So that's version one. In the future, it'll be retail, meaning you could have a college kid or someone that can just jump on the platform and trade. Okay. But in terms of gamifying it, I can't create a game out of it. But what I can do, which is actually very important, is to know which sellers are your gold standard versus your silver versus your bronze, because sellers, remember, if I invested in a seller and I made money with him, I'm going to keep wanting to invest with him, whether it be
Yeah.
that product or another product. And I'm going to favorite that seller. And I'm going to put him in my favorites list.
Mm.
I'm going to watch him or her, excuse me. And if she or he is coming up with more products or has other products that are also doing well, I trust the seller. He's an A-rated seller. I've been making money with him or her. Well, I'm going to invest in some of his other goods or her other goods. Okay. So, yes, we will have rankings for you to be able to rank the type of seller you're investing in and you'll be able to favoritize them. But the exchange is, so there's two things I have to tell you. We're not gamifying it because it's, the stock exchange, or Robinhood doesn't gamify things, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
they're not allowed to. Second, we can't advise as an exchange. I can't tell you these are the hottest trending products, this is that. I can't do that. Okay. You can filter, we're going to implement some AI later to help you better find the products that meet your needs. You have filters already in place, but you'll have to do that. We can't push these products. Okay. We can't rank products. Okay. The second thing is you mentioned um, sellers or investors going into premium data, meaning finding out more about that product's sellers, reviews, ratings on Amazon or the marketplaces. What we're going to do next, I'm already in talks with a couple of companies. I've mentioned some of them. I'm not sure which one we're going to work with, but ultimately, I'm going to partner with one exclusive data provider. That data provider, certain platforms that are currently used by sellers, like I mentioned, the Jungle Scouts of the world and whatnot. The one that I'm going to end up working with is going to become a premium data provider on our platform for you to get even further data and indicators on that product, on that category, in that sector, or on the competition of that seller in that product. It's not enough to just know how much it's been selling, how long it's been selling, and what it sells for. Real traders are going to want to know more in-depth data. They're going to want more insight into that product and into the competition as this becomes more and more complex.
Hmm.
Because they may want to do seasonal trades. They may want to hedge their current products that they sell because they're a seller. They may say, hey, I'm going to buy shovels in July at really cheap because I know by November in Chicago, it's about to rain really, it's about to snow really hard. By the way, we're about to get like, I don't know, 2 feet of snow supposedly in the next. I wonder how that would affect the exchange, knowing that the whole East Coast right now is about to get hit with a massive storm. Certain products might sell faster.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Right? So imagine you could now say that, hey, in 2 weeks, they're about to get hit with a massive storm on the East Coast. Let's buy salt. Let's buy shovels. Let's buy XYZ. A lot of ways you can use the exchange to make money as an investor, and a lot of ways to create cash flow for a seller.
Awesome. So we're going to have in the description again the previous video with you, Shawn, where we showed the exchange from the inside, we show it from the seller side, and also we show it from the investor side. So both can understand how it works. And also there's again the link to kind of sign up. And I believe there's going to be a way to get to speak to your team because it's still, it's growing,
Yeah.
but step by step. So there's still like more, you know, sellers
What I
or
like,
investors
what I
can
like
get.
to do right now is when you sign up, get on my calendar. There's a Calendly link.
Yeah.
Book a 15-minute session with me personally. Okay. You'll see a link. Just book it on my calendar. I'll be on that call. Ask me as many questions as you want. Let's go through a demo. On your video, I wasn't able to use live trades. I'm not allowed to legally. So I had to use the demo stuff. So it may be a little bit more beneficial for a seller to do a one-on-one with me before they get onboarded, right? That's why I have offered an onboarding link on there that you can just schedule a quick 15-minute call with me and I'll literally go through the platform with you, which I can do on a one-on-one basis, but I can't publicly display,
Mhm.
right? Wouldn't, as a seller, you wouldn't want me to use your seller account publicly out there either.
Yeah.
It's your stuff. And so definitely if you're going to sign up or just create, if you don't want to sign up and you want to hear more about this, just book me. I'll be there. I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm on the East Coast, but I don't care what coast you're on. I'm available and I'm doing this every day, all day, just speaking to sellers and understanding how I can help them.
Nice, man. Yeah, keep going, man. I love the spirit. You're just ready to work to
Appreciate it, brother.
build what
Appreciate it.
what
Thank
you're
you. Thank
doing,
you. God
and
bless.
and yeah, man. All the best to you. And again, if anyone has any comments, drop them, and we're gonna get back to you. And yeah, all the links are in the description. Shawn, keep going, keep growing, man. Nice having you, and thanks for your honesty, man. And also, thank you for the good spirit of entrepreneurship, man, of building. This is also, motivating us to keep building our stuff. And
Yeah.
thank you.
I
Thank you.
want everybody to make money. Let's do
Let's go,
it.
man. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Thank you.